Welcome to Mom Life Unfiltered, our Mompreneur Edition. I am your co-host, Maliha Ahmad.
I'm Karina. I am the founder of The Cape and a mom of two.
I love it. And we have our special guest, Jodie Patterson, here. It's just a pleasure that you came on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to be here talking with moms about the myriad of things that take up space in our brains.
I love it. So Jodie, walk us through just to set the tone, walk us through your career journey. Like, how did you get to where you're at now? And it doesn't have to be a long synopsis, because I know you've done a lot. You've done the mostest of the mostest. So
I would say that I intentionally moved around to the point where people thought it would be to my disadvantage. At one point, I think I counted it, and it was like 15 full-blown careers. Not 15 things within the same area, but 15 different incarnations, some would think. But I thought they were all very similar to me, like from circus acrobat to junior book editor to music management of Michelle Ndegeocello and Tricky and D'Angelo, to working for Vibe magazine as the fashion director, to working for Zac Posen as head of PR. I opened up my own beauty store and salon in Nolita. I also launched 2 beauty companies, one of which I've sold. I co-own and helped to launch a live venue, Joe's Pub at the Public Theater. I did a 1-month stint as an exotic dancer because I was curious about that too. What else? Oh, obviously now I'm an author and an activist. So, career has been where my interests find me. The wind blows, I'm interested in something, I usually sink my teeth into that, and that becomes what someone would call perhaps a career. And then they see me someplace else and they're like, oh, you switched careers. And I'm like, no, all of this is me. These are all my interests. And 10 years doing something feels like just enough time. And then I've got another 5 years someplace else.
I love that because I think there are a lot of women and also moms that are afraid to move around in that way because maybe they see it as a lot of risk. Maybe they see it as, it's not stable, or what does that look like to society if I do all the things, try all the things? But if all these things are a part of what makes you, then why not?
And I think a lot of times I was unaware of the process of moving up through like a corporate ladder, or the process of gaining respect in an industry, I wasn't really focused in on that. And no one ever told me to think about that in my family. They've told me to think about what's interesting to you, and scoring on your terms. So like my dad always compared tennis to life. And so he was like, if you get down, if you bend your knees, if you approach the ball and you keep your eye on the ball and you land it in the middle of the racket and you take it across court, that's all you have to worry about.
Yeah.
And not like what the other person's going to do, because they may slam it back at you or they may miss it. But like he always wanted me to be in position and limber enough to do the things that felt really good. The sweet spot of life, or like that is what he would call it. And so I found that it was interesting to me to follow my interests. It just felt good to follow my interests. I wasn't looking at the companies that I was working for as the goal.
Right.
And I definitely thought that I was the brand or the important factor, not in a obnoxious way. I just maybe naive. Like I was not thinking of moving up the corporate ladder, so to speak. I was just thinking about gaining data. That's how I looked at these jobs. There's data out there that I was interested in. And like, while working with circus acrobats, while working with musicians at Joe's Pub, while working with fashion designers, while working with activists who are trans and non-binary, that's data to me, because as humans, we want to understand different languages, especially as moms, when your kids are very diverse. If you're only speaking like 55-year-old Black woman who went to Spelman language and your kids are not that, then you're kind of at a loss. So I really wanted to like pick up all these different cultures and languages to put them someplace. I wasn't sure where I was putting that data, but now it's coming in handy with my kids.
I love that. What questions have you been asking yourself lately? And why?
How to lymphatically drain. It's a huge question on my list. Like the internal body has been one of my biggest questions recently.
Right.
And anyone who knows me knows this to be true. I'm not even making this up. Like, I'm thinking about, are there worms in my system? Like, do I need to detox
Who would
from
accept
worms?
an answer like that?
Yeah. And also, I'm thinking about, like, because really what I'm looking at is life. You know, as a mom of 5, I'm 55. I want to be with my kids more than I want to work. I want to be around with my family more than I want to shop or even travel. So everything I'm really focused on now is like extending life. So I'm thinking about detoxing. It's a constant question. How do I detox? I'm thinking about resting. How do I sleep longer and better? So I'm sleeping on grounded sheets these days. Grounding sheets. I stand on a
I don't even know
Wait,
what that
vibration.
hold
is.
on. What are
Right. Wait a
grounding
minute.
sheets? I need to
Yes.
know
What the
this.
hell is
Girl,
that?
everyone
I
needs to
need
know.
to know.
So there are a couple of things that I've found to really help me with my health. And the question is, how can I be healthier, right? So one is grounding sheets. So there's a currency of the earth, and you can tap into that literal currency, not metaphysical, but literal currency through your outlets. So there's 3 plugs in an American outlet. The bottom one taps into the grounding vibration of the earth, the grounding energy of the earth. And so that plugs into your sheet or your cover. And so you're literally lying in the earth's vibration, the earth's energy, not electrical socket current energy, but earth currency. So you can sleep in these grounding sheets, and they lower inflammation, relax you, protect you from some of the rays of the computers and all the other stuff that's happening and buzzing around you. So grounding sheets.
Hold on. I'm going to put this into my
And
Amazon
Google it.
right now.
And they're not even that expensive,
What
and
are
there's a lot of data.
No,
There's data
Karina's
on it,
grounding?
so
serious. She
We only
literally
have
has another screen up.
get
we
on it.
only have two outlets. I mean, 2 little
So they have
plugs
adapters
here.
for
Yeah, I
different
see it.
places,
Wow.
and you can actually test the currency. So they have tools for you to test the currency of what you're sitting on or sleeping on.
Wow.
And,
That is crazy. So how
because
did that
normally we
change
would
your
be
sleep?
normally we would be walking on the earth without
Mhm.
rubber shoes. Normally we'd be sitting on the earth. Normally our bodies would be actually absorbing the currency of the earth. Not metaphysically, literally, scientifically,
Yeah.
like, you can capture that data. But because we've blocked ourselves off from even touching the ground with our feet, so much of our rhythm is off. And so I've been sleeping on that for about a month now, and I sleep longer. I don't wake up 5 times a night because I
Wow.
feel more rested. Mm-hmm.
I feel like every mom that's going to watch this is going to go out and buy grounding sheets.
And there's some
Yeah.
leaders in the field that are you can read all the information. Like if you don't want to spend $100 without doing the data work, the
Yeah.
research, there's research out there. Some people have been doing it for decades now. And then there's that vibration plate that I'm also into. You stand on it, again, lymphatic drainage, relaxation.
I saw that on an Instagram reel.
Yeah.
I love this.
Wow.
So the questions that you're asking yourself right now is how can you be vital?
How can I be vital, you said?
Yeah, like vitality.
Yeah,
Like how
it
can
is.
you continue to be healthy, strong, fit, and amazing in your body, feel good, so that you can
Yeah.
also spend more time with your children as well as spending more time with yourself? I wasn't
Yes, 'cause
expecting that as a question.
it is one of the biggest questions that I wake up to and fall asleep with. But I would also say, on a day to day, so that's like the beginning and the end of the day thoughts, and then in the middle of the day, the questions are really basic. Do I have enough resources to pay the bills that need to be paid? It is a question that I ask myself every day. Am I doing enough to get the things done that my kids need and that I need? And I'm not talking exuberant. I'm just talking like basic, because I feel I want to do less and live longer. I don't want to spin my wheels to work, to work, to work. So the question is, did you hit that money bullseye enough to pay the bills? That's another question. And just enough, right? And then I guess another question is, this is an ongoing question. Have I forgotten anything? Have I overlooked something? And I don't know if that's a neuroses or a genuine question that we need to ask, but it is something that constantly pops into my mind. Have I forgotten something? Whether it's for my kids or for myself, or like something my parents used to teach me that I have put to the side. Prayer. I forgot to pray for like a good 6 months. And that was the question, like, what have I forgotten? And I was like, oh, that's one thing I'm not doing that I really enjoy doing is praying at night. So
I love that, because the questions that we ask ourselves, I think there was a quote that I recently heard about the quality of our questions shape the quality of our life. So it's like we should constantly be asking ourselves questions consistently. And there was another quote recently about how you can fall in love with the question, right? But you may not be ready to live the answer. So it's about being in the beauty of the question and continuing to ask those questions, but not necessarily having the expectation of the answer coming to you, but continuously asking.
that is true. There's like these are questions that are lead to exploration, or that beg me to explore. So, in my quest for life, longevity, and vitality, sometimes I'm scrolling, sometimes I'm picking up a strange book, sometimes I'm going off the page. Like my new thought was maybe I want to try dark meditation retreats. And now
I've
you can
never
be
heard of that.
yeah, you can be in the dark for like, I think they're like 7 days, 9 days retreats where you can be isolated and in the dark. And what happens when you're not seeing anything,
Interesting.
stimulated by anything, by yourself? I've been thinking about that.
I think that would be, first of all, really beautiful.
Yeah.
Probably really shocking for me. Like
Scary?
if I'm in the dark for a while, hey Patty. Oh my gosh, Patty.
I don't know why she's staring at me so intensely.
Patty's so cute. So the dark, I think that would be such an experience of not having sensory overload on a
Yeah.
consistent basis, and really being and sitting with yourself.
So is it, let me ask you, is it like completely black out? Like you don't see anything for
I think
7
so.
days
Yeah. And
straight?
so there are dark meditations that are minutes or hours. And then there are retreats where you can do this for days in a little hut by yourself. And like all of my questions are like, but how do you get your medicine? How do you take your daily vitamins? How do you wipe yourself? How do you wash your face? What if there's an
Right.
emergency? I have all these like logistical questions, but I think the idea is you will be safe, and they make sure you're safe, but you are without stimulation. Eventually, I'm assuming you have these moments that you go beyond that repetitive voice that asks all those questions in your head, and
Right.
you tap into
Yeah.
something bigger. Maybe you're tapping into that vibration. Maybe you don't need to plug it in through a blanket, but maybe you just tap into that earth vibration after a while. So, I may never do a retreat like that, but it's something I think about and want to explore. And maybe you do it in a different way, just by turning things off as best you can in your home.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah. And speaking of that, what would you say are some of your non-negotiables as a mother and as an entrepreneur?
My kids are from 16 to 32. So they're older kids now. So there really are no non-negotiables. Because what I've learned is most relationships past when your children are young, but any sort of young adult to adult relationship needs long form conversation. It needs collaboration, not domination. It needs work from the ground up, not top down authority. These are relationships that I know this through my relationships with my adult friends, my sister friends. There's a lot of negotiation we do. And I've found that to be a better approach with my kids at this point. So I would say if I had to pick non-negotiables, it's my sleep time. Like, y'all can go and do what you need, but I'm going to go to sleep now. That's kind of, a line that I draw because I'm not functioning at a certain point. So sleep, food, Like my kids, like, I need to pull over on the side of the road and go to McDonald's. I'm not doing that. These are fundamentals for me. Sleep, food, background noise. Can't do it anymore. But other than that, other than these things that, again, that are about like really tending to my spirit, my mind, my body, I don't have hard, lines that I draw anymore. So some kids do things that the other kids don't. And one could argue, but Mom, that's not a clear boundary that you're setting with your kids. Well, no, I don't. I'm not setting clear boundaries because I'm learning. I'm learning in real time.
A good point.
Yeah. So I have things like, if it's obviously unsafe, we talk about it. But my kids, again, they're young adults. So drugs are unsafe, even to experiment. And I have said the dangers. I've talked about the dangers, but I also leave a tester kit, a fentanyl testing kit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And also I've given my kids those revival kits that you can get. So if you see someone ODing, you can help the problem in the moment. So yes, like one parent would say, there are no drugs allowed. Well, I would like to believe that, but I also know for a fact that there are drugs all around. So I guess my non-negotiable is we will not talk about things. We must talk about things. Yeah.
Right.
Well, especially I feel like with drugs, it's, obviously you can talk with your kids about it, but even if you would say, I mean, we all know that as parents, if you would say, this is a no-go for me, your drugs are not allowed. If they want to do it, they find a way to do it.
Yeah. They're like, if you don't want to do it, Mom, don't do it.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
but I think, I think when I think about my non-negotiables in work, when you ask me what are your non-negotiables in work and with family, I don't really think in those terms. So it took me a minute, but I guess protection of my my peace, to use a phrase that's overused. But beyond that, I'm exploring right now. I think at 55, I realized I did not have anything locked in. There is no guaranteed answer. If I don't know how to raise perfect kids, how to raise a perfect self. So I'm open to things. And that sometimes takes me off track. Sometimes that means I'm really kind of loosey-goosey, but shit, we're all kind of learning. So.
Exactly. And with that, like with your children in a space where they could experiment with drugs or like anything in life, even with work, how do you move through fear?
I notice that younger people have less fear. And as we get older, we build up reasons to be nervous about this or nervous about that. It surprises me how many things I just jumped into as I was young and how sometimes I'm literally afraid to leave my house as I get older. I would prefer to stay home. And so I am a scaredy cat. I have a lot of fear.
No.
Of the dark, of the boogeyman. The boogeyman is real for me. I'm always looking over my shoulder. I don't like walking the streets at night. I don't like being alone by myself at night. And so I've done some things to combat that. One is spend a lot of time by myself. So half of the year I'm by myself because the kids go to their dads every other month for an entire month. So we really have shared custody. He takes a month, I take a month. So I spend a lot of time by myself. I talk to myself all day long. You got this, JoJo. You can do it. So excited to see how you get yourself out of this one. This is an interesting problem to solve. You're a good puzzle solver, Jodie. So those are the things, I say out loud. And I travel alone to exercise, to push back on that fear, like abroad by myself. I don't think about it too much. I just challenge it. So obviously there's the fear of the boogeyman is probably just the fear of being isolated by myself. So I'm sort of pushing back on that by isolating myself sometimes and going deep and challenging myself to do things on my own to see what those twists and turns feel like as a single person. I don't have fears of like failure or judgment. I have more fear of like safety, physical
Yeah.
safety. Yeah.
How about your kids, if I may ask? Are they like, how do you handle when
Fear.
they, yeah,
When they were young, I would do things with them that were challenging. So we would sort of approach challenges together and it would be a little more fun. I don't find my kids to be particularly vocal about their
scared?
fears,
Okay.
but again, my approach is to assume that there might be some fear about, let's say, going to college. And then I overtalk that to the point where my kid says to me, it's okay, mom, I'm going to be okay. Or, you know,
Right.
I'm not afraid. I can handle this. So
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had the point. I don't have children that express a lot of fear anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But, you're making me think again because I do have a kid who at one point also did not like to go into new environments, did not
Mm-hmm.
like to leave the house. And I didn't understand it then. So of course I was a little bit more like, well, you got to leave the house because I got to get to work. So I was pushing him through. And now I think that we need individual rhythms. We need to acknowledge our individual rhythms. So if there's something you're afraid of, that is valid, and take your time through it. Maybe it's a lifelong fear you will have.
Yeah.
And then how do you massage that fear? How do you work with that fear? So I'm into the slow sort of pace of life. Take it a little bit at a time. And I also think that almost every fear can be processed when you spend time alone.
I agree.
Well, I mean, it's
1,000%.
interesting because a fear in the end is nothing more than a thought, right?
Yeah.
So we started to tell her because our kids are scared in the night, scared of the dark, scared of certain things, nightmares. And, we tell them to welcome the thought.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, how are you? Thanks for visiting. You can leave again. But treat it as not say, oh, this is not happening or
Yeah, it's not valid. Don't say that.
Right.
exactly. But,
It reminded me. That reminds me of my mom used to say something similar. I like that you do that approach because it worked for me. My mom would say, hey, because I used to have a lot of nightmares,
yeah,
recurrent nightmares as a kid for years, decades. And she would say, okay, when you go to sleep, you're going to have the nightmare. You're going to have the monster's going to be there. Just stop running, turn around, look them in the eye and say, hey, this is my dream. Get out.
I
did
love
it
that.
work?
And we did that for a long time. We visualized the monster.
That's amazing.
We confronted it, faced it, and said, hey, scram, this is my dream.
And our kids now have the ability too, because we taught them so much through that. They have the ability, and I don't even have the ability to snap themselves out of dreams and to steer the dream into a direction that they want it to go to.
Yeah.
So I think that's really amazing.
And I think a lot of the problem, at one point, I'm dealing with kids who are young adults. And so between, so it seems like a whole entire world away from when they were young.
Yeah.
And parenting changes shape so much from when you're raising young kids to older young adults, because a lot of what I'm doing is in collaboration with. So I did a lot of what you're talking about now that you're reminding me of, this groundwork of like confronting nightmares. We would also set the tone before bed. Like a lot of the fears come out at night. So we would set a tone. I would do a lot of storytelling. I would tell stories that were sort of classic fairy tales, but with Black characters, like Rapunzel had cornrows. And
I love it.
The Shining Knight was a dark Black African man. But those were like setting the tone for the night, for the story, for the dreams at night. And then we would, in the morning, talk about our dreams. But I think now, and that was me trying to help them soothe their way through life. Now it's almost impossible to fix the level of severity that our children are going through when they're in their young
Absolutely.
adult. The world is so crazy. I mean, I literally cannot fix the problem, but we can talk about it. We can work together on it. I can be there while you puzzle it out. I can help you with some brain power. I think this is the approach I'm taking now, that I'm not a fixer, but we can build solutions together.
I love that.
The collaborative approach, I feel, is more healthier with everyone, with every relationship in life, right? I mean, even in your partnership, you don't want to fix or change anyone. It's all about collaboration. How can we grow? How can we grow together?
Yeah, that's like in hindsight, right? You cannot fix
it.
Damn it.
That's in hindsight. And then you're in it and you're like, why? You have all the questions.
Yeah.
There was something that you said that struck a chord with me, because I too, my fears are all around safety, all around feeling safe in the world. And I know that stems from when I was a child and not feeling safe as a child. And then that lives in you and continues to be in you. And then sometimes that little one, I have a therapist and she says, who's driving the car? Who's in my car? So she's like, is it your 5-year-old in the car, the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old? Make sure that they're not unbuckling their seatbelt to come to the front to drive. She's like, make sure you're always driving as the mom. Be the mom and drive the car. Understand that these triggers in these different spaces of fear and pain and whatever come up, but nurturing those parts of you that are in the car and ensuring that they stay in their place in the car and don't come and drive. And I said, wow, I've had so many moments where my 5-year-old is driving.
100%. Yeah.
And I literally have just been like, wow, I'm so afraid of XYZ. And I know that where it comes from, where it stems from. And having that analogy of the car and then visualizing me driving the car, but trying to buckle someone's seatbelt so that they don't come to the front.
That's great.
Wrestling with all the different,
has been a really good visual for me to like come back to grounding and also placing who's trying to come up, who's in my car. So you said something really key, and it just made me think about that.
I definitely have young Jodies constantly vying for the steering wheel of my life, all the time. And I'm going to think about that when it comes up next, how to put her in the back seat. But I also think, I think that things happen when we're young, and they set the tone for things. They become a part of our life. And I know that there's a philosophy that things happen and you don't have to absorb them, or you can cleanse yourself of these memories and of these feelings, maybe through ketamine therapy or some sort of ayahuasca or ceremonies where you can release the trauma. And I believe in those practices. I also understand that, some bad shit happens as to us. And the goal for me is to not erase it, but to allow myself to be all the things and all the parts and all the experiences and all the data that I've absorbed, but to have some element of me that then also can look outside of that. So I'm not trying to necessarily get rid of all my fears, but I want to be able to be fearless and fearful. If both things can happen, and some days I'm more fearful, and some days I'm more fearless. That's been my approach to sort of not let one of these Jodies overtake, but maybe we can all play together, and maybe the enlightened adult who's 55 and has some perspective can lead. But sometimes I let the little girl lead too. Like if she's a little bit more fearless in terms of I negotiate all my contracts, right? This is just going back to, so I'm a woman, I'm a single woman, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I have to go get jobs, and then I have to command a certain salary, and then I have to go get those checks and then deliver the product, right? And sometimes people don't want to pay you. what you're worth. Sometimes they don't have a budget. Sometimes they want to negotiate you down. I have to negotiate all of those elements because I don't have a manager most of the time. And that takes a bit of the young Jodie who's like, no fucking way, I'm going to get this. And then a little bit of the mature Jodie that knows just draft an email that you use over and over again to negotiate. You don't have to do it every single time. So I combine the smart, advanced Jodie that realizes, life is about negotiation. And then I bring in the ballsy, young 20-something Jodie that doesn't give a fuck. And that becomes how I, go get over a hurdle. Most of the hurdles are like in terms of advocating for myself.
Yeah.
Which is the thing in business. And it's like, what would you, when thinking about even business and also motherhood and personal life, what would you say is the difference between excellence and perfectionism?
And
to give you some context on this question,
sure.
It came from, I was watching Emma Grede talk, a podcast with Mel Robbins and Emma Grede, and they were discussing this, and I found her answer really interesting. And I've never quite thought about the difference. I've never thought about the difference. I've kind of just felt like they were one and the same.
Excellence,
but they're actually not.
Perfectionism. Well, I rarely use those two words, but I would.
Yeah, me neither.
I just don't use those words, but I do think that there is a vibe that I'm trying to hit. And that vibe is like the same thing as like when you hit the tennis ball in the center of the racket and you're in like perfect form and there's a flow, and literally the vibration of the ball and the tennis ball and the cord and your body are like they're in sync. That to me, that vibe that I've felt in sports, but I've also felt in everyday life and in parenting and in relationships. It's a sweet spot that I think is a combination of practice, being really limber and accepting, like being able to meet things where they are, and then form, like having a graceful, studied form that almost feels, intuitive, but it's something that you have tried over and over again. So like work and grace and opportunity and being limber and getting like those things to me make something feel really great. I wouldn't say perfection. I wouldn't say what that word, but I know the feeling when the sweet spot is hit. And it's rarely based on the outcome. It's really more on the contact, the moment of contact. So I don't like, again, going back to sports, because I don't know, that's how I was raised. But when you hit that perfect shot, the person on the other side of the court might hit it back to you. They might be like also perfect and hit it back to you. But it's the feeling of the contact of the ball, the racket, and your body that's really like phenomenal. So I think when I look at life and I want to find moments that I feel I really got that sweet spot, it's much more layered than an outcome. Does that?
I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that.
Right. Because
the way you describe it.
It's interesting that you don't use the words excellence and perfectionism as a mom, as a woman. I think that's amazing, because there are so many women. I don't like the word Black
excellence. Yeah.
Right. There are so many women that are like, I'm striving for excellence, or they're trying hard to be perfect, when that's not even a concept. That's an illusion. That can't even happen.
Yeah.
And so it's great that it's not necessarily in your vocabulary.
No, not at all. I mean, I'm striving for things, like I'm really striving to be in the orbit with my kids. I'm striving to, like I said, feel healthy and strong in my body. I'm striving to have clarity in my cognitive thinking. But certain outcomes, like I want to hit this mark and I want to be perfect in this position, and I want to be excellent in my career. I don't think that way. I'm more like, did I hit the sweet spot? Did the vibration feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Was the energy right? Because
Right.
honestly, I'm just trying to smile. I'm just trying to get through each day, like
Right.
happy. And
Aren't we
so
all?
I don't have these goals. And this is another issue. I'm not ambitious in the way I was before. I'm not. And my friends think, when I say that, people think, oh, that's either weird, or you're being contrarian, or you are off. But I'm really, I don't have a lot of ambitions. Like, I'm not trying to do this thing. I
Mm-hmm.
really want to. And I heard Beth Ann Hardison say this, who's an old, good friend of mine, and she's considerably older than I am and has been considerably wiser. And she was on stage probably like 10 years ago. So maybe she was in her 60s, late 60s then, maybe 70s, I don't know. And they said, what do you think about in the morning? She goes, breathing. What are your goals for the day? Breathing. What are you
Wow.
trying to accomplish? Breathing.
Yes.
I honestly, and I was like, that she's so silly, but I get it. I don't have ambition. In fact, I want to declutter. And
Right.
I'm not trying to be a monk. I still like my chai lattes and my trips
Right.
to Vietnam and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the goal in my head every day is not to be excellent. It is to be
Mm-hmm.
like alive and healthy.
I love that. It's about deconstructing, right? Dismantling.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we absorb so much in society, and so we think that we have to be excellent, or there's this idea of success, perfection, all of these things. But really, I love that you brought to the center this concept of deconstructing, dismantling,
And
decluttering.
to that point,
Mm-hmm.
though, I want to make sure that I'm clear. Like, I understand why it is important I understand why women are overeducated. I understand why Black women are overeducated. I understand why we put so much emphasis on building up our character and our values and our minds and being healthy and strong. I understand why cultures like the communities and cultures like the LGBT community and Black folks, why we do so. When you see us at the front of the line, it's because we are 10 times stronger, better, smarter. I
Mm-hmm.
understand why our families push us to
Mm-hmm.
work hard. So I'm not saying I'm allowing for lackadaisical approach to life. I think in our nature, in my house, we want to be good at whatever we choose. Like, I see my kids
Mm-hmm.
working really hard. I myself work really hard to find things out, to understand things. But the and I want to step outside of my house with an expertise. But I literally also, with all the expertise I have, and oftentimes I'm at the front of the room in a boardroom or in a meeting, I'm at the front of the room, not because I'm the most excellent. I haven't raised the most money. I haven't done the most successes in business, but I have a very particular perspective, and it's full of goofy nuances, but it is a very strong perspective based in experience. And so that's what I really think is the most important thing: to have experience, personality, opinion, critical
Mm-hmm.
analysis, more so
Right.
than excellence. And so Black excellence, I get that, what that is, but that's just not my language.
Well, I feel like also when you get up and just your goal is just to breathe, that's your goal, then I mean, you can't set yourself up for disappointment,
No,
right?
you cannot.
I mean, you just
Rita.
go to bed every night and you're like, I did it. I mean,
I had strong goals when I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s.
Of
And then I
course.
got hit by a lot of things that happened that are out of my control. And I thought, okay, there's no way I can block. I think when you hit um, speed bumps that are really big, almost
Mm-hmm.
sinkholes in your life, you have to take another approach. So if I could have been Jodie with all the determination and going a mile a minute and striking off everything from my to-do list, like did that, accomplished that. If I could have done that for another 20 years, I
mhm,
probably would have. But
Mm.
I hit a point. It's not like I'm a monk. I hit a point where my goal-oriented life wasn't working. And
Yeah.
I'm now in a retwist of my life. So not to say that goals don't work. They just had a time and a place for me. And now I'm in more of a flow of life because shit is hard and I rather
Mhm.
flow through it than combat it because I want to be here. So
Yeah.
Right.
that's where I'm
Makes a
coming
lot of
from.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What would you say your relationship is like with time? Oh, yeah, you're cracking up.
Girl, I am always 15 minutes behind. Doesn't matter what day of the month it is, what's on my plate. There's always 1,000 things, but 15 minutes time, I don't have a good grasp on. And it's not because I don't value your time, it's because I don't understand time in general. So my relationship to time is I'm quite late,
Mm,
consistently late, like 10 to 15 minutes behind. When I show up, I'm on point. I also have a love of the fact that in time it will change. So a
mm,
lot of times I'm saying to myself, just go to sleep. Tomorrow's a new day. It'll switch up tomorrow. If you're really frustrated, go to sleep. Wake up
mhm,
tomorrow and something will have shifted. So in many ways, I'm more patient with time. It works in my favor. I
mhm,
have had crises where I wanted to fix them right away, and you cannot. And I found like it has been proven to me, even the worst situations, time is your friend. So I don't sit still, but I allow time to take place. And now there's all this data saying that when you have like a thought that you would call an intuition, it is actually
mhm.
reading a future memory that has already happened. So, time,
Mm,
there's many ideas around time that it's all happening at the same time, that there's no past, present, or future. It's all, and I'm no metaphysical
mm.
genius, but I do know that um, the more I play nice with time, the more I let it be, the better the outcome is.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you can relate with this, Karina, but I feel like this construct of time has been, I don't actually feel like the days are really 24 hours anymore. I feel like the earth is spinning faster. I feel like
Yeah.
we're still operating at 24 hours and we're probably really at like 12. And it's just doesn't feel like we're really getting, I think so much has changed drastically, and we're still in a very dated
Concept of it.
concept of time. And we've
Hmm.
evolved past
Mm-hmm.
what time, like we've evolved as a species, but we haven't necessarily created a new type of, I guess, connection or relationship with it. And it seems like you are based on your answer.
And I noticed that I feel time differently from the city to the mountains. Like if I'm upstate, I
Mhm.
feel different about time. The days actually feel like 12 to 15 long hours. Whereas
Right.
when I'm in the city and I can't see the sun and I can't see the trees
Yeah.
moving and I can't see the change of the earth, from all the stuff around me, when I'm locked in a room, time feels and flows differently.
Yeah.
It's like speeding through. But when I go
Yeah.
upstate, it slows down. So I have this feeling that yeah, we've constructed a concept around time that was constructed. It's man-made concept of time. We don't quite
Hmm.
know it, but what I'm feeling is that I need to give into time a little bit and stop trying to
Hmm.
manipulate it. So yeah, I will probably be 15 minutes late for the rest of my life, but I will also be quite fine with that.
Right.
What I do
And
do
making
now,
the
though, is
right
I set
impact.
my clocks ahead so that I try not to piss people off too much. So I'll tell myself 30
Mhm.
minutes. I'll set it 30
Yeah.
minutes.
Let's switch gears here. How did you define wealth before motherhood? And then how do you define it now?
Wealth now is definitely owning property. And that sounds strange coming from me because I'm typically not going to start with that because I just bought something recently. The first time in my life at 55, I was able to buy property and build a house that I own with no one else's name on it.
Mm.
And that to me it's an accomplishment, but less of like building wealth accomplishment. It feels like a safety net for me. It feels like a place that I can
Mm-hmm.
manage, that I can maintain, that I'm not going to be kicked out of or bounced up out of. Because as a renter, you realize that you're renting your sanity from someone who's insane.
Right.
Like landlords are insane in New York, and you're attached to that. You're like a
Right.
yo-yo, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I really, as a mom, value the ownership of a home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, being able to have really healthy food, I value that.
Absolutely.
That is to me, and it's like I work. I'll work an extra job to pay for my organic, my
Yeah.
farm raised, my natural food.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
um, and so I'd say I'm trying to really think about this question. So I think it's ownership of my home, like owning the land and the place that we live in, so it's stable.
Mm-hmm.
Being able
Mm-hmm.
to afford food. That is, what was the word you used? How do I describe? What was the word?
So how did you define wealth
Wealth, right? So
before
wealth to me is being
motherhood
having the
and now?
ability to have healthy food. Wealth to me
Mm-hmm.
is the ability to have your own place that no one is going to take from you. Wealth to me is being able to take my kids outside of the immediate reality and go someplace else to travel as an additional experience so that you know that the world is really vast. Those are probably the three things. I think before my children, it would probably have been more material things that I was like, lusting after. I didn't grow up with a lot of emphasis on material things, but I went through a
Mm-hmm.
period in my 20s where I wanted stuff. As a person who went into book publishing, I wasn't making a lot of money right out of college. And so I was very envious of the women who had things,
Right.
bags and jewelry and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had some goals about things that I wanted in my closet and what I want my house to look like. And I
Mm-hmm.
have those things now. I have things in my closet. I love the way my house looks, but it's not those things. Now I'm trying to like sell them off at the consignment store
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
so I can have some more cash to go buy my organic mushrooms and like eat those, right? Like my adaptogens. But again, it goes back to security and health. Those are my
Mm-hmm.
wealthy checkpoints.
Karina, what do you think?
I would 100% agree with Jodie, except for that I'm at a point right now. I don't know if it had something to do with the move or, I mean, we still own the house in the
Are
US,
you done
but
with ownership?
yeah, we're renting here in the city, and just the way the world is going right
Mm.
now, we're like, this feels great. Like we don't want, because you talked about what was the word? I forgot the word. When you own too
Okay.
many things, but you don't want them.
When you're hoarding stuff, yeah.
Hoarding.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're like there. We don't
Yeah.
want to own anything. We don't want to, the less, the better.
I agree
So
with that
that's,
that energy. I like that. Really the less the better. And that's why I said it was weird for me to start off with owning a home because I'm not sure that that is the goal. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that is the goal, but I do know that in New York,
Mm-hmm.
particularly
yeah.
in New York, if
I
you
mean,
rent, you are at the mercy of just
yeah,
vicious capitalism.
yeah,
So we're,
Absolutely.
like we're
yeah,
talking like $9,000 a month,
yeah,
$10,000, 20,000.
yeah,
I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
getting insane,
Right.
and so that puts you at a deficit where you will work
100%
yourself
agree.
to death. But
Right.
in Switzerland, where my daughter lives, she rents a beautiful place for just a few $100s and can stay in that kind of lifestyle for the rest of her life,
Yeah.
and doesn't
But
Absolutely.
necessarily have to
Switzerland is
in
not
Zurich.
cheap. I mean, we all know it's like
No,
super expensive. So I'm surprised to hear you
but
say
you
that.
don't have to. Well, I think what she's noticing is that they're not gouging you. So in New York, you're
Yeah.
one
Mm.
lease, 1 year lease at a time. So every year they're
Yeah.
raising it. In
Yeah.
Switzerland, you're paying, you know what you're going to pay, but it's forever kind of.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you can just live
wow.
there forever. And it's just kind of like
Yeah.
more civilized.
They can't just raise your rent. Same here in Germany.
Yeah.
So
And also, I think during COVID, when I realized that in order for me to be safe outside of a city, I'd have to get someone to I tried to rent outside, and no one prioritized me as a single mom with 5 kids. They took other
Mm.
renters' money
Mhm.
first. So I was again, as a Black woman, as a mom of both cisgender kids and transgender kids. And I find that having the most control over certain things brings me the most peace. When I have
Mhm.
to think about, is this landlord going to understand me, or is this person going to
Yeah.
choose me, or is this person going to help me?
Right.
So much of that is up in the air, as just as the way the world works. And so the few things that I want to control are my living space and what we
Hmm.
Yeah.
put into our body and how we experience the world. If I can get those 3 things, I feel like I'm really, really wealthy.
I love how you defined wealth because, most people define it as something monetary. That's typically tied to that. And of course, the things that you're naming require money, of course, but you can also have those things and it doesn't require so much money depending upon where you're
Mhm.
at geographically.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like you've turned motherhood on its head? How have you gone against the grain?
I think that mothering is often martyrdom and fixing things and being the computer system for the family, remembering things. I think people assume if I'm a mom of 5, I must be pretty snuggly and I must be pretty organized and I must be willing to that I must love doing things for people. And sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I'm not quite very snuggly at this point. And so I think I flipped it because it was becoming utterly unbearable the way it was. I flipped it to becoming, instead of a martyr, I want to be a builder. So I'm not here
Mhm.
to do for you. I'm here to build with you. So we're building children, we're building people, we're building a little city,
Mhm.
of people. And I've been looking at it like that. And that got me really excited. I was in Zurich visiting my daughter, and I went into a museum, and there was an exhibit on city planning. And it looked at the cities that were successes and the cities that were failures. And New York, for example, was a colossal fail at one point. It was. It was so busy, so
Of course.
hectic. And they thought, oh, we'll just add more highways for efficiency and
Hmm.
it'll make it better. But actually, those highways just made it more
Mm.
congested. And it wasn't until New York City started bringing in social infrastructure, like carving out parks, and Times Square became a square. In
Mhm.
parks on the river, instead of more highways, we put places for people to gather. So I started thinking about my family as a city that could be turned around instead of being in chaos and in congestion, passing each
Mm.
other and bumping each other on the way to work. But we could really be in collaboration and find these places of gathering. So like my kitchen is it is a
I love
library, it
your
is a park.
metaphors. They're like
Hmm.
I love them.
Right.
I want to be a city planner. That's what AKA
Oh,
mom.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And the thing is about that, it's like I'm not the mayor. I'm not, I'm not the boss. I'm not
Yeah.
managing, but I'm understanding the flow. I want to have a bird's eye view. I want to understand the flow. I want to
Mm.
understand the architecture and what is structural. So when I think about like what do I really need to focus on as a mom, it is the structural things. Like we're not going to lose a person,
Hmm.
and we're not going to lose uh, our souls to like things that are insignificant. Like if you want to wear something, if you want to dress a certain way, those things are fine. Those are the flexible things. Like, but the structural things like honoring people and honoring who they are and letting them be who they are, even if it's different from you, those are the
Mm.
structural things that I'm thinking about architecturally with my family. So like how do we share space, make the kitchen, put a lot of plugs and cables and like phone
Hmm.
plugs in the kitchen. How do we also allow for people to be really unique and not feel crowded? Well, you can have everybody has a room, but we also have really big lounge open spaces. We also have the capacity for long form conversation. In fact, I insist on long form conversation where we lab
Hmm.
out big ideas. And I just want to stop here for a minute. I know I'm like getting a little bit off the point, but this is a big part of my mothering, to figure out how we can live together with and disagree, but with decorum. So some of us believe in God and some of us are atheists, for example. Some of us are transgender, some of us are cisgender. Some of us don't believe in the science of gender variance, and some of us experience it. So with these kinds of things, they could cause turmoil in politics, but also in your home. And what I found is that if I think about it like a city where we are not necessarily, they don't have to believe me, they don't have to act like me, but we are a city of unique, diverse people. How do we coexist? Well, we talk these things out at the dinner table ad nauseum until they become no big deal. So although we don't agree on gender, we've been living with all the genders in this house. Although we don't agree on God or being an atheist or a believer, we've been living with these very complex concepts and they have become no big deal. So I flipped the idea that I'm trying to fix things, that I'm trying to be everything for everyone, that I'm trying to create peace. And I flipped it in terms, and I've made it into, I'm a builder of people and of structures and of architecture that support families.
That makes me think of something that I recently read. I believe it was in a book. I can't remember the name of the book. It's blanking in my brain, but it was about being a contributor in life and not an expert, not the fixer, not the person that has the most experience and can do and manage all the things. It's about being a contributor, and your contribution and participation is the most valuable thing. And so when I heard you talking, it made me think about that. That you're a builder, but with being this builder, your contribution in this city, and when you were describing it, I'm like, this is like a really beautiful ecosystem. There's an ecosystem there. Everyone's kind of learning, growing, challenging each other. You have these hard conversations at the dinner table, but there's some sort of symbiosis that's happening at the table and in your city. So I love the metaphor. What do you think, Karina?
So I completely forgot what you asked. What your actual question was?
How did I flip mothering upside down?
Like, Jodie, I mean, okay. But I mean,
And I said, I'm
Jodie's
not
answer
a
was
mom,
like,
I'm a builder.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. Like, wait, what was the question? How I
Right.
flipped motherhood around. I don't even know if I did. I mean,
That's okay.
what kind of, I'm not sure if I understand the
Well,
question, to be
can I jump in
honest.
for a second? Because I think it's a really important question, because a lot of, if you look at the younger generation, many people are saying no thank you to being a parent. They're saying, I don't even want it. Why would I want to be a mom in particular? Because moms work really hard without getting paid. They also sacrifice their personal dreams for the stability of, quote unquote, stability of the family. They lose respect. They die younger than if they were not responsible for all these people. We also, women's bodies house most of the autoimmune diseases because of this, because we are constantly asked to push down our sharp emotions and only show our soft, giving, understanding emotions. And so being a mom has been detrimental to our health, to our career, to our psyche, to our development. And so the question is like, how do you change that? Because if no one wants to be a mom, we're kind of screwed. And I understand it. My daughter was like, I'm not sure if I want that. That looks like a bum deal to me.
Well,
But if you rethink this idea of what it means to birth children and what it means to be in connection with growing families, I want to be a part of the building part, not necessarily the like sacrificial part. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I just had this conversation with Ben last night about.
Who's Ben?
my husband, sorry. Malia already, obviously, and
Of
all
course,
the
I know who Ben
listeners
is.
already know who Ben is. Yeah, so that's my husband. And I asked him last night if you knew our son is about to turn 12 in 2 weeks. And I asked him, if you knew 13 years ago what you know now, would you have had kids? The way the world is going,
Yeah.
and because sometimes I'm not sure if I would answer this question with a yes. So, I mean, all I can do is for my kids, I wouldn't want to have it any other way now, obviously. Like, I can't, a life without these two is unthinkable, obviously. But I'm like, all I can do is just, be authentic and try to help them to solve the puzzles.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna, and that's what I tell my kids too, like, shit will hit the fan. Life sucks. Yeah,
I
life
love that.
sucks,
I
not
love that you're
always,
honest.
but well, that's just, life can suck.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a better way of saying it. So I'm just here to, like, I can't, I wanna get you out of it, but I'm not able to. Like, I can't get
Yeah.
you out of, like, my mother instinct wants you not to experience these things, but you're going to. That's just
Absolutely.
how life works. So the best I can do is just give you the tools to deal with them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
I do. I mean, I think that you say what most with the moms that I know say what you just said. Life is hard, parenting is hard, and my children have made my life unimaginable without them. Like I would choose being a mom over and over and over again with these same children, over and over and over again. But I think that the thing that I make sure I don't do now is over assume what I can do. I cannot fix racism, sexism, transphobia,
right.
mental
Yeah.
illness,
Right.
poverty, food shortage. These are the things that I cannot fix. And so, but we're all going to be affected by those things. So
Right.
I think that the flip
Yeah.
side of mothering is I
Yeah.
actually, like when moms say, I'm not your little friend. And then they grow up and they're like, can we be
Also,
friends? I want to be friends with my kids. I really do.
Also, what I think another thing that I do with the kids is not sugarcoat anything. I'm not going
Yeah.
to tell them the world is great and there are no problems. And, like we talk about the genocide in Gaza and all these things that are
Mm.
happening in the world right now. Even if they're like young, and I don't know what good it would do to not tell them
I
and to
agree.
not talk with them about this. So
Yeah. I do.
I
I think that's
have,
another part of parenting is figuring out the dose of information and the environment in which you share that information. So all these big concepts that are so big that the brain almost can't hold them, like Gaza and
right.
racism and war and poverty, all at the same time happening all over the world. We're really actually not supposed to have contact with as much things as we are coming in
Yeah.
contact with. We don't have the
Yeah.
processing power. But, if you try your best to give your children a dose of reality and do it in the right environment. Like, I like to talk about big things
Hmm.
over dinner because we're all eating and we're kind of chill, or in the car, we're all kind of coasting. And so I find that it's smart to do what you've done, which is talk to your kids about the realness of life in a dose that makes sense for their age and in an
For the age.
environment.
Yeah. Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. But definitely not
Yeah.
sugarcoating. Because then you have then you're bearing all the weight. It's like, I
right.
don't, and and they're not realistic about who you are. I think another thing that I've done to flip mothering is just stop doing shit. Like, No, I'm not. At one point when I was married, I just stopped cooking and I pretended as though I couldn't cook.
I can't deal.
And I was like, that's the way we're going to do this. I can't cook anymore. And so he started cooking. And I do that now with my kids. Like, your underwear are dirty. They're just dirty. Go clean them. Go wash your underwear. And so I have my kids. So there's dirty underwear.
This is hard, but
we
it's
have one
so
underwear
effective.
bandit. We have an underwear bandit because I stopped wanting to do laundry and I don't. And then we have one kid who doesn't want to do it. So he steals the underwear of the other kids. It's like,
Oh my
y'all are
God.
hilarious. But it's not my business because mothering is not about laundry. That is not about it. That is about whoever wants to do it. But I've taken off the task part of mothering and put that on the family. Task management is a family responsibility, not mine. Now, seeing the big picture and giving us options on like, how do we want to navigate this world and giving insight. That's my job because I'm an architect, but I'm not going to be the task rabbit here.
You know what I love about how you've been talking? Everyone has these titles. I appreciate it because you're like, you're not the task rabbit. You're the architect. You're not the cook.
You gotta just flip it.
You're like, I'm not these different, and sometimes you can and will be, but I think that it's really beautiful where you decide, okay, this is not mothering.
No, it's not, right?
This is what I'm going to do.
Just as a person in this family, I cook most of the meals and but I don't require that I don't attach that to mothering. Like anybody, I think that's a different topic, like who's going to master this task versus who's going to build this group from the bottom up. And I see women doing that really well. I've seen women building something from the bottom up really well in Black churches and historically Black colleges and universities, in Black towns. These are the models that I look at, like when women have done things that were phenomenally empowering, despite the politics, despite the fact that everyone was against them, despite the fact that racism was undermining them. Women have built cities and cultures and institutions based on a collaborative bottom-up approach. And a very intellectual, I can see the big picture approach. And that's what I'm honing in on. I'm no better or worse at like managing little things. Like everybody can learn that shit. But what I do know is I model myself after the women who have built communities against the odds. And that's what I'm trying to do.
And I have one last question for you. And this question is interesting because you may not have an answer. What was the worst or most limiting advice you've ever received?
I have it.
You have it. And what did you do with it?
Oh, God. So, the one that comes out to mind first is when I was out of college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was a book editor, but that wasn't fulfilling. And I wanted to go back to grad school. I wanted to go back to school and go to grad school. So I went to my dad. I sat down at the dining room table and I presented my desire. And I asked him to help me pay for grad school. And he said, absolutely not. Grad school was for fat, gay, and ugly women.
What?
Yeah, this is my dad, who I love, who had many great qualities, but he was an old-fashioned man who was very attached to gender stereotypes that were pervasive in that era. So he said, no, I'm not going to pay. You're very beautiful. You should just be focused on getting married. You can marry well. He said, with your skin color, you can marry well. So he was a complicated man. And so I ran far away. I did not speak to him for years. And I didn't go to school, but I ended up using like life as my school. So I didn't pay for a grad school, but I think that was one of the reasons why I moved around so much. I was constantly approaching life as if I were in grad school that my dad wouldn't pay for. So he had some old ideas on women, old ideas on marriage, old ideas on education. And I realized that even the people that you love can sometimes be part of the problem. And I just divorced
Ooh,
myself from him from a while.
Wow.
Yeah.
that's a
We
quote
came
right
back.
there.
We came back full circle when I
Mm-hmm.
was old enough to be my own person.
Okay.
When I was old enough to say, like, what if I am, like, you saying I'm fat, you saying that fat, gay, and ugly is a negative, says who?
Mm,
What if I am gay? What if I am ugly to you? What if I am fatter than the next person? These are not negative things. And you're
Yeah.
putting a negative spin because of your old way of thinking. And you're
mhm,
putting an old way of thinking on my new mind. So this is what I wanted to not be as a parent. I don't want to put old ideas on new
Mm-hmm.
minds. I don't want
mm.
my kids to have to run away from me to establish themselves in this world. And I
Yeah.
had to run away from my dad in order to get clear. Yeah.
Wow. Sometimes you have to. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing, for being authentic, being vulnerable. This is exactly what we're building, what we're creating on Mom Life Unfiltered. So I'm extremely appreciative of you being here today, Jodie. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you,
for having
Jodie.
me. It
It
was
was
a
so
pleasure.
interesting, and a lot of um is food thought a
Food
word
for
in
thought.
English?
Food for
Food for
Mhm.
thought. Yeah.
thought. Food for thought. A lot
Yeah.
of that.